I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank Mr. Nikolai Mladenov, thank him for an informative report on the situation in the Middle East and the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories. We also listened very carefully to Adel Reimer. We agree with a key conclusion made by the special coordinator when he says that negative tendencies in the Middle East and in the settlement not only dominate, but they're reaching a critical level. Recently in this area, we've been witnessing dangerous trends, unilateral steps, and the aggressive revision of agreements arrived at earlier. In the recent month and this month, we had votes in the General Assembly on the Middle Eastern block of resolutions, and it shows that there is unity of the absolute majority of UN member states on the recognized principles for Israeli-Palestinian settlement. We have always supported the fair resolution to the Palestinian issue on the basis of the relevant resolutions by the Security Council and General Assembly, the Madrid Principles, the Arab Peace Initiative, which all provide for the creation of an independent, sovereign, territorially contiguous Palestinian state within the 1967 borders with a capital in East Jerusalem. We drastically disagree with the recent decision made by the United States to no longer consider the settlement activity by Israel to be a violation of international law under the pretext of recognizing this way the real situation of the ground. This is in line with the decision made by the U.S. administration on Jerusalem and with the illegitimate recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the occupied Syrian Golan Heights. These are gross violations of international law. In this context, we'd like to say it once again that the Golans unquestionably are Syrian territory. The attempts to remove the need to look for a lasting settlement in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to us seem counterproductive. The only sure way to resolve all of the existing differences is through direct negotiations between parties. Refusing the attempts to relaunch them, replacing them with economic palliative initiatives, we think is senseless and dangerous. Madam President, unfortunately, recently, while we discuss this topic, we seem to be going around in circles and repeating things all the time. The fact that the Palestinian issue is not settled is a key issue for the whole region and continues feeding the extremism in the region and outside. What we're witnessing periodically is armed clashes around the Gaza. We're also witnessing discontent in Palestinian and Arab street. The constant irritant here is a settlement activity on Israel and the demolition of Palestinian houses. And in the recent report of the Secretary General on that, we have a description of this broadening practice. Against this background, what is more important than ever is to mobilize the efforts of the constructive representative of international community to support the recognized basis for the settlement. And we're interested in coordinating our work with international partners and the UN. We need to continue work with the Palestinian and Israeli partners with states in the region of Middle East, North Africa. In this regard, we think it would be timely to send a Security Council region into the region. So as to calm the situation, create the conditions for political solutions, we call for the Israeli and Palestinian sides to refrain from aggressive rhetoric and actions. The statements about plans to annex the Jordan Valley, settlement activity, the demolition of houses, and strikes on Gaza we consider to be unacceptable. As well as rocket strikes against Israeli territory and incitement to violence. Israel and Palestine have an important religious importance for hundreds of thousands of people who are monotheistic. The unique status of Jerusalem shows that we need to find ways for peaceful coexistence of followers of all religions. Here I would like to point out the historic role played by the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. They are the custodians of the sacred places of this city. Lasting peace in these areas is in the interest of all Christians, Muslims, and Jews. We think it's particularly particularly importance also the support spoken towards the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in the Near East. We have said many times that UNRWA is not just a humanitarian organization, it has a political dimension, has a stabilizing effect on the Palestinian territories and Middle East countries. In this regard, we think it is short-sighted to try and discredit UNRWA and remove their funding. The hope that if the agency disappears, the issue of Palestinian refugees will also disappear is naive and dangerous. And we hope that the change of UNRWA leadership will not affect the activity of agency, which has been showing its relevance and effectiveness for decades. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement.